Okay, so we are live to YouTube, and you guys are going to be watching us recording the podcast for tomorrow. So this is just for your own edification. 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome on back to another edition of the Baltimore Beatdown podcast. It's Friday, July 15th, Friday, July 16th. I crushed that. If you're listening to the podcast, if you're watching on YouTube, we decided to hop in here and just go live for this episode. Something we're going to be getting more into as the season gets started. Going to be doing live recap shows, I believe. But just to kind of flex the old muscle, we haven't gone live in a while, so we decided on a whim here to hop into the stew and go live to you guys on YouTube. Not able to go live on Periscope to Twitter, as we learned a couple months back. I think Periscope no more. Can't really go to Twitter anymore. Everyone's getting into the live hosting game. There's Spotify Green Room, which shout out to them. A little bit of a partnership that we've developed with them. There's Twitter Spaces. There's Clubhouse. There's Rooms. There's a lot of stuff going on. So it can't go live to Twitter, from what I understand. But here we are, live to YouTube. My name is Jake Luke. I'm verified on Twitter, and I'm joined by Spencer Nathaniel Schultz. How's it going, bud?
Non-verified bad boy, Spencer Schultz, rejected, depleted. Jake got that big old check, and now he's having a lot of big old sec in the sack. So congratulations on that. Devin coming in hot. Yerp. It's been a while. I wanted to go live. Jake put a colorful new background on there. Got a little frisky, little soup du jour, if you will. And I feel good. I have the fucking itch. Sorry, I've been cursing more and more as this goes on. There was a point early in this podcast where it was like, a couple guys complain about, the kids are in the car. Well, your kids need to learn some cuss words. They're probably looking them up on the internet anyway. Anyway.
Can we talk about that real quick?
What?
Did you not notice when I read that review, literally the day before you found that?
Because at this point we've reeled out, I wonder how many episodes we have. We've probably hit some like episode milestones that don't even realize. We've probably already had our 100th episode.
I want to say that we celebrated the 100th. Maybe it was just the 1 year anniversary, but
we just like mentioned, but we've got to have had over 100 episodes. But no, when you go into the outro, sometimes I'll like already be like have previously been looking something up that we're talking about or something, so I'll like look down or look to something else, and I didn't even know. But then I saw that and I was like, Lord have mercy. That was about the second one we've had. But I apologize if you want to listen with your kids in the car. I can't control my emotions in this podcast format. If I was on a radio station or something, or I'm doing a call with cleveland.com tomorrow and I'm going live on that, like I'm fine. But this is the boys' room. Okay. You're in the dojo. We're doing karate in the garage and some color flies. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it does. And like, that was the funny thing is like, I read that, like I usually read the reviews, but like, it's always something really nice. And I try not to read the negative ones anyway, because
we need the negative ones
every now and then. Yeah, that's kind of what this was, reading a negative one in jest. I read it as if it was like a really heartwarming thing, and I thought I was like going to get your attention, but you were just completely tuning me out, and I was like the bad language, F-bombs and all that stuff. You didn't pick up on any of it. I was like, all right, we're just gonna keep rolling here because he's not picking up what I'm putting down. But you literally discovered it the very next day. So
that's funny. I was in autopilot for that, and I didn't realize, but I'm sorry. This is our safe space, and in our safe space, we throw words around. We throw some color. But long story short, I am getting the itch.
You're getting a little horned for the football.
I'm getting a little. I want football. I want football bad. I took a break. I took a hiatus. Haven't pumped out any articles in a while. Podcast. Jake had Forgotten Dynasty wrapped up. Fantastic. I'm sure most of you have listened. If you haven't, if you're waiting for that big trip, you have a treat ahead of you. But that's wrapped up. So I kind of did a little mental reset. Went on vacation for a couple weeks there, and I stopped. Stopped watching films. Stopped. Took a little break. I feel good. I feel refreshed. I feel ready. I'm so ready. Training camp starting soon. I can smell that fresh cut grass. I can smell that thick, humid August air rolling.
You can hear the sprinklers breaking out of the ground and just absolutely dousing the fields, making them nice and dewy.
I can hear those churning in the distance.
The white lines being painted by the gentleman in the Zamboni.
I'm just snorting up the paint that is Absolutely. One of the hardest things to do is to properly line a football field. Very underrated. I'm horrible at it. I was hurt when I was in high school and they asked me to do it. And I got borderline yelled at, borderline hysterically laughed at because it was started at the 10-yard line and the first down marker ended up being about 7.5 yards on the other side. But it is time.
Were you hungover?
No. I just was on a, not completely flat surface. And I was just like, put my headphones in because they asked me to do it and I couldn't practice. So I was like, all right, whatever. Yeah, I'll do some lines. And at the end I looked up and it was fucking squiggly lines. Like it was usable for practice. It was very bad. It was very, very bad. Top 3 worst I've ever seen. Definitely. And I was banned from ever being allowed to do that again. So it's tough.
Can I make a confession then?
Confess. You did it for your soccer team.
I'm in the horny corner a little bit too, honestly. I'm getting into doing some writing, working on a little long form piece that's probably not going to be ready to go for a day or two at least. But I'm getting in the mood a little bit. Getting in the mood to try some new things too with the writing. I think Forgotten Dynasty opened up some synapses in the old brain, so I'm getting into some experimental shit that I hadn't really tried before. I'm kind of feeling like a jam band after like a good session at like the local.
Hunter S. Thompson, you're drinking, then smoking, then eating, then drinking, then smoking, then eating.
He was doing a lot of that. Him and shout out to Jim Irsay, actually good friends with Hunter S. Thompson. Yeah, so I'm excited too. That's what I'm saying.
It's been, generally speaking, this off season and the result of the last Ravens season was just kind of like, all right, it was kind of stock. It was kind of stock. They took a little step forward. We kind of felt that was going to happen. Yeah, there was some excitement around, what are they doing in free agency? They end up, pulling it all together very cheaply. Zeitler, Watkins, whatever, Villanueva after the draft. They have a nice little draft. They get Bateman, who we all wanted. That was the peak of the offseason, was drafting Bateman. And it was just kind of like, all right, like again, like I don't want to go ahead and say we're waiting for the playoffs because that's an arrogant thing to say. And you can certainly miss them. The injury bug can happen, whatever. But just like kind of, they've been on this steady path and they're kind of falling out of the headlines. They're not this shiny new toy. There's Justin Herbert and all these rookie quarterbacks. And the Ravens have just been in the playoffs the last couple of years. So kind of, hit a little lull there. But now I'm ready. I'm excited. And I can't fucking wait to see this team. I can't wait to hear some pads cracking at any point as soon as possible across the football land. I might start watching Good Morning Football again. It's been a solid time since I stopped watching that. And I might even get back on that. That's how thirsty I am for the game.
I think for me, I'm getting there too, because we did kind of take the break. Like I was managing Forgotten Dynasty throughout a decent bit of that. And like I started it with still having a little bit to go. So I kind of had to wrap it up. But kind of burying myself in that a little bit and getting away from some of the stuff that was going on with the offseason. Like, let's face it, it was kind of a toxic offseason in some ways. And right. Kind of made doing the show, I wouldn't say not fun because we love doing the show, but it made it kind of some of the topics frustrating, talking about
there was some brain drain that was just repetitive.
Talking about the wide receiver position, it feels like it culminated with the draft. Then all that kind of stuff went away. I feel good about where they're at. I plunged myself into something that was entirely different than what we have been talking about. So 6 weeks later, that's pretty much all done. And in actuality, football is kind of right around the corner. So it feels good.
It feels fantastic. I'm sure everybody else is jonesing as much as we are. And it's fun. There's going to be some fun battles, and we're going to get into all of that stuff next week. We'll do our, everybody does their training camp preview. So that's, everybody does that, but we'll probably have Vaz on and whoever else, and we're going to break it down like we always do and start talking, start letting some takes fly and all that good stuff. But it is right around the corner, and I'm very excited. We got Rashad Bateman and Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews just sexing it up in Scottsdale, training shirtless every day, going to clubs at night, just living the damn life. And I saw on Twitter a couple weeks ago, someone was like, what do these guys keep doing what are these guys doing in Scottsdale? And it's like, Mark Andrews is from there. The fucking finals are there. And like, it's a cool place.
I forgot who that was, but I think that was from a friend of the show. So shout out to him. But yeah, Mark is, plus Mark is from there. So I think they're just out there maybe crashing with him or something. Mark Andrews probably has a different girl going through there every week too. So probably a lot going on in that regard. But yeah, I mean, I think my response to it was good-looking, rich, athletic, young guys. What could they possibly doing in Scottsdale, Arizona in July?
One of the best. Well, July is a little excessive because that's when the heat is cooking.
Well, it's a dry heat.
That's true. That's true. And then they come to training camp and will be dehydrated because they're sweating profusely in that cloudy abyss that occurs in that cut of wilderness and the jungle of Owings Mills.
Shout out to Truly. I'm drinking.
Shout out to drinking. Mark does look like the Chad of the team. Mr. T chimes in. He looks like a Chad. Yeah. He's the Chad of the team.
Yeah, he kind of is, but I feel like he's pretty wholesome. He looks too much like Cole to be a Chad.
Yeah, very true.
Cole's not a Chad.
That ain't no Chad. But ultimately, their training, Lamar, controversy of classic, when is it going to fucking end? 2022, like, when is it going to end? 2022, if they, I guess they just have to win a Super Bowl for it to end.
I was thinking about this in the context of just the quarterback position where, obviously that's been a hot button thing and that's going to be a hot button thing. It kind of feels like it's just never going to. Like, feels like if you have this perfect storm of a divisive quarterback on and off the field reasons that are a little more insidious than I think on the field, because, the playing style that can be divisive for one reason or another, but the off the field stuff is kind of bullshit, which I got into today, which I guess that leads into a different story, which is now that one member of this podcast is verified on Twitter and getting into war with other members of the verified elite. That, does
the water taste better?
Listen.
Oh, I was hoping for a. Yeah, slurp it down. Yep, there it is. There it is.
Pineapple hard seltzer tastes good. It's actually not that great, honestly. I don't love pineapple Trulies. Little sweet, but it does. It tastes good. Feels good to be verified with like fucking 1,500 followers or whatever minuscule amount I have. It's, I think, more funny than anything, but I'm not going to say no to it.
Oh no, absolutely not. And immediately, as soon as the check mark comes, the sec mark comes, and you're going at it with Shannon Sharp, who is just like, Shannon Sharp is on Mike Florio's side. Take a fucking breather, Shannon. Do you realize that you're on Mike Florio's side?
So backing it up, and I think we got questions about this, so we'll probably talk about it even more, but backing it up. So the Florio thing comes out a couple days ago where there's a video of him running a route or whatever as like a DB against a kid in his camp. Two guys watching football. It's just guys talking. Is that the blue check guy? It is. What's up, Cole? Lamar like running a DB route against a guy. Don't let me down with that. Yeah, me too. And he's running a DB route against a kid. Florio kind of comes out with a typical Florio take. This is how I put it on Green Room the other day. When we get to this time of year, dog days of summer, Florio needs something to glom onto that's going to give him like 24 to 48 hours of just kind of sustenance. This was like maybe peak of that because it's really nothing. He made a whole thing out of it. And then I think Shannon probably saw that, and Shannon was like, all right, I got to get in there as well. And I got to do the same thing, kind of hack some engagement here. What's up, Ramey? And he did. And I don't even think it was as calculated on Shannon's side. Like, I think Shannon genuinely wants Lamar to protect himself and get this contract.
For sure. He
makes the comparison to Tom Brady and says, do you think Tom Brady would ever do this? So that's where so here's where the verification thing is kind of funny, because like, it's not that I didn't remember that I was verified, but I kind of forgot that would like kind of put me to the front of the queue as far as like all the responses would go. So I dig up that I'm not going to fight him. He would murk me. But I find that so the first thing I did was, it's funny because he tweeted that thing about Brady. I'm like, all right, there's got to be some example of Tom Brady doing some dumb shit. And I don't know if this was like in my subconscious or something, because this was kind of a big story, this Tom Brady thing that happened. And he did get criticized for it, actually, apparently from Shannon. But I Googled Tom Brady skydiving.
Of course.
It was like, I needed something. I needed just like something to glom onto. So I Googled Tom Brady skydiving. That's the first thing that comes up. So I see the video of him doing the cliff diving. I'm like, okay, perfect. So I take that. I tweeted out with, what's up, Anger Raven? I tweeted out as a quote tweet, just the video of him skydiving, no context or whatever. Because it's like, oh yeah, whatever, just like a little response.
Cliff jumping. You're saying skydiving.
Cliff diving. Yeah, sorry.
Cliff diving. There we go.
My wires are all crossed. So I tweet that out. Predictably, it catches on. I forgot the fact that like the blue check mark would push it to the front, and then it turns into a firestorm from there. Just
you basically made Shannon, like, I don't want to say unravel.
He got into his feelings a little bit,
but let me check these out. I mean, people saw it, but it's just was hilarious because, like, if you make Shannon Sharp go back on his words and like make a slight apology, it got to the point where Shannon quote tweets Jake, Shannon Sharp, Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest tight ends of all time.
I think 3 Super Bowls between us, maybe 2. I don't know how many he won with the Broncos.
I think 3. I think he went back to back.
I think him and I combined for 3 Super Bowls, maybe a couple Pro Bowls, and just an all-time great NFL career between him and I.
So Jake goes, big fan of yours as a player, and I think you mean what you say as a pundit, but criticizing any player in that respect is something I can't get behind. Shannon quote tweets it, tell me what part did I criticize? Him talking to the kids, giving back, or putting himself at unnecessary risk? Jake replies, I can understand the original argument to an extent, but you lose me at the Brady comparison. Quarterbacks put themselves at risk in the offseason all the time, on the camera and off. From my perspective, I'm tired of seeing Lamar be the only one to receive this blowback. Pause. And
okay,
Shannon fully goes into his feelings. Like I said, it's my I messed this one up a little bit with the words, but he said, like I said, it's my fault. Should have kept my thoughts to myself. Lamar has grown. Exactly. He said, I'm done caring, and I broke protocol by offering advice that wasn't solicited. That's on me. So you made Shannon Sharp, day one of being a verified bad boy, corporate bad boy. You made Shannon Sharp walk back a take. What are you going to do tomorrow?
He's still defending himself a little bit against me too, because like somebody came at me and was like, oh, well, like Brady, like I forget exactly what the guy said, but it was something like, I don't even totally remember, but he was like, oh, why would you bring up Brady or whatever? And or like Shannon said that he criticized Brady in the moment, because Shannon initially said that. He was like, well, if you go back and check the tape, like I criticized Brady when he did that. And I was like, well, then Shannon, like, why would you compare him to Brady in that situation? Why would you say Brady would never do that? Like, what are we talking about here?
We have reached the fucking boiling point of the offseason. It is
we have reached the boiling point
season.
We have reached the boiling point of this fucking contract situation is what we've reached the boiling point of, because it's over. It's got to be done by now. They said it was going to be done before camp. It's a couple weeks from now until camp. It's time to get it done. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of he's running on asphalt. That's going to cost him his contract. That's Florio over here. It's Shannon over here. I've got the Twitter check mark. I'm in the fucking trenches firing back at these people. I'm at the end of my rope, and I've been at the end of my rope for a long time, but it's receded into the background a little bit, and it's bubbling back up to the surface, and it just doesn't, we don't need to be here. And no, I am not going to get into debate with Shannon, because he's going to do the undisputed thing.
Jake, let me talk to you for a second.
Yeah, he's going to scream over me, and that's not going to happen. We're going to do it on Twitter, and I'm going to just say what I have to say, and it's over. It's done. It's over.
Jake is famous. Jake is now famous. And, it's very stressful. You're basically being Dave right now.
Kind of, yeah. And I'm
Dave.
It's fun in some ways. It's difficult in other ways. I was literally at work today. Like, I'm back in the office too, like a couple days a week. I'm in and out of meetings, like checking my Twitter. Shannon Sharp is responding to me. I'm like, all right, this is my life is a movie right now.
You're literally Dave. I was watching Dave right before this started.
I got to catch up on that. I only saw the first 2 so far.
I just watched I'm halfway through the 4th right now, and it's getting better and better and better. But yeah, so day one of Jake being verified was a fucking movie, bro. It was a fucking movie.
We have to get you verified. I feel like you could get in some real trenches with people.
I've already been in these. I've been in these fucking streets. I've been in these streets for years. But it'll whatever. But ultimately, it's just funny because I still feel like, I don't know what it is, but it's Lamar, Josh Allen, and Baker. Maybe I just don't watch ESPN anymore or anything. I don't really hear that much chatter about maybe it's because there's 3 of them, so maybe it kind of breaks it up a bit and like takes the pressure off of one, so it becomes like a revolving triangle of sorts. But
I think it's kind of like a pared down topic too, where it's not as like a big, like, oh, like Lamar Jackson needs to win the Super Bowl. It doesn't like work as well in like one of those debate shows or like whatever you when you say ESPN or FS1, that kind of thing.
I mean, and it's capitalism media. It's like, okay, let's see which one of these topics gets the most hits and creates the most interaction. And that's how you run a social media account. If you want to maximize your followers, you try to attack whatever gets the most traction. And that's why Barry McCockner has been so good for so long. A true legend in these streets.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of engagement for so long.
Exactly. So it's just, it's interesting to me because I just don't feel like I feel like the Lamar needs to stop doing this has been a thing. And it's like, okay, Lamar had a fucking community event for children. Jake, our number one digital bulldog, who we will not disclose, but we were talking earlier, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling chimed in on Shannon Sharp's take. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling, so the quote from Shannon Sharp is, "Why, Lamar?" Marquez said, "Because he wants to go back and be the guy that he never saw as a kid. Give hope to a community, brighten a kid's day. Could change a kid's life. Bigger than chasing a check when you're a genuine person that cares about the youth." And that is why it's hilarious, because all these motherfuckers are out here saying that, oh, Lamar needs to take care of this. And they're the ones on these capitalism-fueled bender media clickbait shows. And Lamar doesn't participate in that shit. It's two polar different worlds.
But he doesn't. But he notices. He gets this shit sent to him, and he'll go on to.
He responds very quietly and with some emojis. But what did he do? That dude made that awesome graphic of him holding up the paper after the Titans game, where he inserted the paper, and Lamar immediately makes that his fucking Abby. He hears it more than any other athlete hears it. I feel like.
I think I follow him on Twitter. He's really good.
It's our boy. He
I think he's a Osborne.
Yeah, he is.
Zach Osborne, I think.
Zach Osborne, right, exactly. He makes those fantastic graphics, and Lamar immediately takes that and makes it into his own.
At ZJ Creation. Check him out on Twitter. He's really good.
ZJ Creation, there we go. Yeah, he's the boy.
Not to be confused with Zeke Batman, of course.
Not to be confused with the Batman. Tannenbaum said Cleveland would be tying themselves to mediocrity, giving Baker a big contract.
So that's where ESPN is talking about it, I guess.
Exactly. So maybe I just don't subscribe anymore to the talk show stuff. The sad part is Undisputed is one of the I'll watch some Colin Cowherd on a slow day. I'll watch some Undisputed every now and again. I don't think recently really, but it's just it's that point of the year where Colin Cowherd's on year 4 of ripping Baker Mayfield.
Lamar Jackson running on the asphalt is actually a great thing after this commercial break. Coming back, Joy Taylor, her and I talking about this. Lamar is actually proving his versatility while Baker going out on a boat with Odell Beckham. You remember the last time Odell Beckham went out on a boat, people? It's just like that time me and my daughter were out on a boat.
And, I said, Jason Lock, I'm for it here.
Well, that was my Cowherd. I don't know if it's that bad that we're not.
No. I was just transitioning. Someone else who will chime in with some takes. JLC had a little bit of halfway breaking schmooze, I guess, talking about Justin Houston today. He said that Justin Houston, I believe, has turned down 4 offers and is waiting. I just clicked on the fake Jason Lock for. He said that.
Who's running a spoof Jason Lock in for account? I promise it's not me, for anyone who's going to speculate.
A living legend. A living legend is. I can't even find it. He has tweeted a lot today. Holy sh! I believe it was something along the lines of Justin Houston has turned down 4 deals. He's waiting. He wants to, join a winning team, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But so, Justin Houston, another hot buzzword that's been extremely prominent throughout this offseason. And we'll see. We shall see. Camp is around the corner, and there's still some pass rushers up there, and it's gonna be a hot button. It already is.
At a certain point, is them signing him not a good thing? Is it okay, maybe they're not too?
Ideally, they don't have to. I think that's in their mind.
That's the crux of what I'm saying here. If they get there and it's all right, Ferguson not doing it.
That's pretty much what it has to be. I think.
To be fair, I'm not expecting him to do it either. So
exactly. Let's end this mailbag because I think there's questions about it, but Jake had his freaking superstar moment, Jesus Christ superstar moment. The world is watching to see what you do tomorrow.
Listen, I can't live up to that.
You're Vinny Chase now.
Not
you
right
just,
away.
you just had your Queens Boulevard.
I just had my head on, is what I just had. So
you had your head on, correct?
I'm just gonna chill for a couple months because the other months I was just all stressed out. So, shout out to Vinny Chase. Which one do you want to do first, IG or?
Oh, you did an Instagram one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't even know. I was like halfway hoping we could get real deep into the Twitter one because I feel like our Twitter. Let's do Twitter first because I feel like we don't. I want to get into the Twitter ones. Okay. IG gets more love in the mailbag.
Yeah, we can get deep into both. I mean, we're only 25 minutes in. We can go for 4 hours. Shout out to Joe. We got some good ones on Twitter though.
That's what I'm saying. I want the Twitter mailbag to get some real love.
Cassidy with a good one to lead us off here. If we win the chip this year, is Pernell McPhee going in the Ring of Honor? It's closer than some might think.
Pernell McPhee is, I'm actually whipping up a little Tyus Bowser article right now. And to loosely quote my intro, whatever, is that, the Ravens always had that air of swagger, that personality, that confidence, that energy on defense. And you think of guys like, Michael McCrary, Rob Burnett, Tony Siragusa, Ray Lewis, Rod Woodson, Ed Reed, Chris McAllister, Terrell Suggs, and, even like a Bernard Pollard at one point. You think of these guys that just bring that like energy, personality. And I think post Ray Lewis, it turned into like this dancing kind of thing. And I think that like Suggs had a lot to do with that, like a little more goofy, but still very energetic. And, Suggs is like that. Zadarius Smith has like a superstar personality, and that was the case in Baltimore a little bit, but he was just not Terrell Suggs, so he didn't quite get that. But then Judon, of course, has always been getting himself in trouble, not actually, but like on Twitter or whatever, and interacting, and on the field, he's always dancing and messing around, and Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, all these guys. And Pernell McPhee is now like the last of the old guard of that intensity. And if he's got 2 rings and makes a big impact this year, then, he's a guy who returned to Baltimore. And I think that he, is one of the more underrated Ravens of all time. His ability to set the edge, his ability to kick inside and just bring that old guard Ray Lewis kind of era, fucking fierce laser beam, focus, intensity, aggression to the game. So yeah, if he makes contributions this year, I mean, the game he played against the Titans last year in the playoffs was incredible, and love. You have nothing but love for Fee, and it feels like everybody in that locker room loves Pernell McPhee.
Kind of reminds me of Anthony Levine in some ways. Maybe a little bit of a spiritual leader to some. They kind of are looking to him in ways and sort of in avenues that you wouldn't necessarily expect. And good point about that Titans game. Ingraven says no. I probably would agree that it's a no for right now. But like if he has a really good season, for example, like I'm not expecting him to go out and get 9 sacks, but if he does that and then he has like a playoff run where he has like 3.5,
or if he just like is a brick shit house throughout a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, and he was like, shout out to 2 guys watching football. I don't know if Cole's still in here, but he had a great chat with Jeff Z the other day. And Jeff was making the point that like McPhee was in 3 different phases, essentially, is what he said, is the impact that McPhee had, where he's good against the run, he's good rushing the passer, and he's just barking his head off at the Titans all game, letting them know in no uncertain terms that we're not putting up with your shit anymore. Like we might lose this game, but
shout out Calais Campbell as well, who was screaming at them. That was one of the most underrated moments of last season, actually.
Shout out to Lamar Jackson, which we heard through some back channels that in the meeting the night prior to that game, he said, we're going to go hang fucking 50 on them for what they've been doing to us. And we're not going to stand for it anymore. They stood up to the bully, and Pernell McPhee was a big part of that. So I think if he has a similar playoff run to that game in its entirety, really big season here in 2021, it's exciting stuff. I think he could potentially do it. Excuse me. Adam Jones. Hey, the boys are back. Verification Jake and the good Dr. Schultz.
Shout out to the real Adam Jones, or I guess the fake Adam Jones, the one who's playing baseball in Japan still, for getting his 1,000th career RBI recently.
Absolutely. He's great on Twitter too.
He is.
Okay. I guess that answers that. Let me, John Smith, shout out to Pocahontas. Do you want to answer this first? Because this kind of ties in.
Oh, is that the same one?
No.
Is that the same kind of one? I just
so-
put that one up for the time being. Go ahead. Go to the next question.
Okay.
We'll leave this one up till it ties in all the way.
Okay. John Smith. I understand not necessarily agree with Wink saying sacks don't matter because pressure rate etc, but how does that account for mobile quarterbacks? I just flash back to blitzing Mahomes Allen and they wriggle out near every time. At the end of the day, don't we need to bring them down for loss? I think he's got a point here where I love Wink and I love the idea of manufacturing pressure and all this kind of stuff. And like sacks don't matter. And like it is, I trust Wink when he says that, but they do need to like, at the very least, they need to show up against Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen this year and bring those guys down.
I don't think Wink, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Wink said sacks don't matter, but he said sacks are, overrated.
Sure. Yeah.
And what the Ravens defense does at its core with their pressure scheme and all of it and their overloads, whatever, what they want to do is, number one, get a free rusher. We know that. And that's why it feels like, I could dive into this, I'm just going to say in one sentence, that's why it feels like they're not as concerned about paying those B-level, C-level type pass rushers like 10, 12, $14 million. Do they want Bosa? Yes, but they want free rushers. And what they truly aim to do, it feels like, with the amount of press man that they play, with the cornerbacks that they draft and sign and extend, they want to make it so that you get one read and there's some crazy shit going on up front that they want to manipulate the, whichever kind of slide or half man protection or whatever the offensive line is doing, they want to manipulate that to create free pressure. And that's why they're not as concerned about getting like a B-list guy who gets 8 or 9 sacks. So they want to make it so that, and that the game in 2019 against the Bills in Buffalo is such a great example of that. They got in Josh Allen's face all game. They hit him. And they made it so that he basically had to snap the ball, make the correct pre-snap read, and get the ball out. The problem is when you start playing, the Chiefs are going to have a really good offensive line this year, most likely, and a pretty smart offensive line. Maybe the Ravens get a little lucky because last year it was Eric Fisher, been there for fucking ever. Mitchell Schwartz, been there for quite a few years. A couple guys up front, Kalichi Osemele had the game of his life in that game. Of course he came back to bite the Ravens in the ass. Can't even, ends up missing most of the season, but of course he comes back to shit on the Ravens. He hates the Ravens, which is like, he pretty much came out and was like, I would never go back to Baltimore. So now, Orlando Brown's going to know things pretty well. So that's one tall task. They've got Joe Thuney, a smart guy who did play the Ravens last year, but he's, in a new system. And then they're going to have probably Creed Humphrey or Larnay Duvrant Tarif, however you say his name.
Laurent.
And there's, what's the other guy's name? Austin Renners. So it's a new 5, and you might be able to take advantage of that a little bit. But what they want, and if you go back to 2018 as well, the Ravens hit Mahomes like 18 times and held them to, 17 points most of the game. They have that final tying, that final backbreaker. Or no, they have the 4th and 9 Hail Mary. Like, that's what they got away with. And they had pressure on Mahomes there. It's just also tough to get mobile quarterbacks down. It's hard to tackle Lamar.
Especially we've talked about it with those two guys in particular. Like, those two guys are tanks. Like Mahomes, like you might not even think of him that way necessarily, but like that guy's a beast. He is difficult to bring down, like just from a physical standpoint, and he can move faster than prime Ben Roethlisberger ever did.
Right. He can fucking scoot, and he kind of, Patrick Mahomes has like a normal sized version for the NFL, like that Kyler Murray kind of back dip scoot thing where he just like, it's flag football and he's evading you.
It looks like if you're playing a video game and you have like, you press a button to like boost and like you like fly forward a little bit. It kind of looks like that.
Yes. And he can stop really well. He's very shifty. And then Josh Allen's a big dude. He's fast. He's physical. He's like a tight end, man. He's like an athletic tight end out there. So do you want to get pressure on those guys? Absolutely. The problem is they weren't even getting pressure. It's not that they weren't getting sacks. They weren't pressuring Mahomes really. They tried to do, basically it seemed like a lot of the Ravens playing on true passing downs was, shout out to Garnett. Shout out to Garnett.
Clarifying no homo there.
Yeah. So they were trying, it seems like they were trying to get Mahomes to roll left and then have a 3-gap looper to go to their right or Mahomes' left. And Mahomes saw it coming the whole way. It was like their game plan was to try to get him to go left and catch him there. And the entire game, he just sprinted to the right and made plays on the right side of the field. So, they got out coached in that way. And people wanted to be able to just rush 4 and do all of that. But I mean, the Ravens don't have someone who's as effective as Shaq Barrett or Jason Pierre-Paul right now. And the Chiefs offensive line was beat up in that game. And the Ravens defense completely shut the Chiefs offense or the Bills offense down in the playoffs. That was not the issue. Was no part on the defensive side of the football. The defense locked down. The Bills had one drive that entire game. They had a drive that was just quick pass, quick pass, quick pass, quick pass. And that is the problem with Wink's scheme. If you can effectively create quick reads, then you're going to be able to beat the blitz. If you can identify where the blitz is coming from, your offensive line can pick up on it. And you, especially if you can go no huddle, high tempo, you're going to be able to beat the blitz. And that's the catch-22. But at the same time, people have kind of ignored, which is what I'm going to get to in this article, the fact that let's look back to 2018. You had Zadarius Smith, Matt Judon, and Terrell Suggs. And, Terrell Suggs wasn't prime Terrell Suggs, but he was better than most edge rushers in the NFL still. Zadarius Smith was a beast. Matt Judon was high energy, able to come in and they all played a ton of snaps. They were a formidable group. And it didn't matter because they didn't have any interior pressure. They had Brandon Williams, Chris Wormley, and Michael Pierce. Those guys combined for 46 pressures on 890 pass rushing attempts. The three of them were a joke. So they went out and got Calais Campbell, someone who takes snaps, at the 5 tech, a little bit more on the edge and can move all around. He got hurt last year. That really sucked. That definitely hindered him in the playoffs as well. He was able to get up for that Titans game. That was the only game that he was able to really make an impact after that injury. 30-something-year-old guy with an Achilles injury. Derek Wolfe, who great on stunts, able to get some pressure, did some good things. And then Brandon Williams back to his natural position. They draft Justin Madubuike, who looks like he's going to be a good pass rusher. So it's that give and that take. And it feels like interior pressure is something that's a little more consistent than edge rushing pressure. And that's why, and another thing that I just saw the other day, there's been 6 pass rushers in the history of the NFL to lead the NFL in sacks twice, 2 separate seasons. Pressure or sacks are inconsistent. I mean, you can really beat yourself in that way, chasing sacks. So the Ravens are built from the back to the front, and it is what it is. But I like that philosophy. I think it's taken them pretty far, and they've, they shut the Chiefs third quarter last year and gave themselves a chance, and then just couldn't get it together on offense all the way. So they're closer than we think, and it's a lot of younger guys getting more time in that system.
Absolutely. I think you answered that pretty well. A little bit of a controversial one here, but I think one that is worth discussing from Matthew T. Bunting. Don't want to shy away from it. I got to finally ask, it's been bugging me, and I know it's a sensitive subject, but is this Lamar thing lately a race thing or what? No one else is getting this level of hate, especially someone as humble and down to earth as him. What gives? So there's a lot to unpack there. And it depends on even what you're talking about. Like if you're talking about the analysis of him as a player, there's a little bit of it in that. If you're talking about analysis of him as a person and what he kind of stacks up as in terms of like what people think a quote unquote franchise player should be, there's some of it in that. There's some of it in everything, because race is the preeminent issue and discussion in the United States and really in the world going back to the beginning of time. And that's never going to change. And that's just kind of how it is. And that is inherently a part of the Lamar Jackson experience, because he is young, he is flashy, he is divisive with his play style. That is going to lend to being divisive in people's analysis. But yeah, I think people are right to criticize him in some ways, but I think, and I haven't been shy about the fact that I think some of these arguments against him are made in extremely bad faith. And they are made sometimes, even if people aren't realizing that, they're made upon the basis of stereotypes. And that is kind of what pisses me off.
I think that there's a couple levels to it, and there is a race level to it. And I think it's easy to see those many times in a lot of interactions. You can kind of see.
You can tell right away a lot of the time.
And when there are some where it's like, running quarterbacks will never get it done. We're past that. Patrick Mahomes is already, thrusting himself into the conversation as one of the greatest of all time. You've got Deshaun Watson, who was arguably the best passer in the NFL last year, especially considering his supporting cast.
And let me tell you something. Look up John Elway, okay? Running quarterback.
Burt Jones could fucking scoot.
Burt Jones fucking running quarterback. And let me tell you something. That's John Elway before John Elway, first of all.
Exactly. So, we can talk about all those, but at this point in the NFL, you got Cam Newton who's done it. Michael Vick did it to an extent. Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Russell, like Aaron Rodgers is mobile. So that's one thing. I also think that there's another level to it where people watched him at Louisville and he was so athletically dominant with such below playoff level, a below top of the, that he made plays on his own. He would run for 250 yards in a game. He would do all these kinds of things. And I don't think certain people's brains can kind of compute since seeing that he like led the NFL in touchdown passes, that he's 5th all time in passer rating, that, and that's not to say that he doesn't have his shortcomings, that he
didn't phrase it right. And he shouldn't have said he should change.
Bill's old, man.
He is old, and he shouldn't have said
John Madden had to stop eventually.
Right. And he shouldn't have said he should have had to change positions. Like, he should have just evaluated him as a player. I don't think Bill was trying to be actively racist, but you can imbue racism into comments without realizing it sometimes. And that's kind of what happened there. And the people who were on the other side of that, which I think is the correct side to push back against that, and this includes me too, got very overzealous in telling Bill Polian off well after that occurred. Still to this day, that happens. And then the people who kind of saw it the other way, even if they weren't totally on Bill Polian's side, they were like, oh, well, there's a divisive issue. I'm going to take the other side of it. I'm going to go start going incredibly far this way. And it's just like every other issue in this country. It just gets pulled apart at the seams until it just turns into this.
And the media is at the precipice of that, at the center of that, I guess is better to say than precipice. But, at the heart of it, the media, they get the fucking clicks, as we were just talking about earlier. Whatever gets the clicks, they're going to talk about, they're going to write about, they're going to. And it's good for dollars and it's bad for cents. And that's the only way you can put it.
And I think they want to talk about him too, because he's a fascinating figure.
I mean, he was the MVP of the league. You got to fucking talk about him. He's electric. He's 30-7. He's made the playoffs. He's winning, tons in games.
He's the most unique player to come into the league in, I don't know how, probably maybe since Vic. And that's not to say the best. He's obviously not.
Aaron Donald comes in. It's a few guys. It's a few guys.
And he's making plays and showing up on highlight films in a way that Aaron Donald cannot because of his position. He is
that scramble against the Titans.
Yeah. That's just and that's not even talked about, that he had a fucking 50-yard touchdown run against the Titans on 3rd and 12. If you look at that screen grab that I posted, that
and Adoree Jackson, who was a countrywide
track star,
star, couldn't fucking touch him in a sprint.
And I kind of hate the whole why is nobody talking about this thing, because that's what do you want them to talk about? But that kind of just feels like something that's sort of been papered over because of the loss to the Bills the week after that. But that is one of the one of the best plays of the past. I guess you could include it, or no,
post Super Bowl Ravens.
Yeah, that's probably a top 3, maybe even best play for the Ravens since Super Bowl 47. I like the way you put that.
Yeah, in the last decade, pretty much, and especially even playoff highlights. So it's all of those things. Is there some racial undertones? There's definitely people where you can feel it very quickly. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but they're from the same kind of places. They have the same kind of fucking Twitter avies.
And it's a lot of truck loving patriot 45, and they've got the fucking American flag emoji, which
and there's certain teams that they're fans of. The one fan base that I think is very interesting in their takes about Lamar is the Steelers, because they've really stifled Lamar twice, and they've only played him twice, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. He didn't start his rookie year. He won one in overtime.
He should have caught a touchdown against them in 2018, but we don't have to talk about that.
Right. But they didn't play again. Then 2019, they played once. Marlon Humphrey, Juju, forced fumble, touchdown, or Tucker field goal.
He was bad.
Sat out the next one. Then the Steelers had a really good defensive game for the most part. The Ravens made some plays, ran all over them. The backs, they just focus entirely on stopping Lamar and let the running backs run rampant on them. So Steelers fans have these really he's not that good. And that I can understand that, because a lot of them probably only have watched those 2 games.
Absolutely. Yeah. I get that. I mean,
so I can understand that perspective.
I get annoyed with some Steelers fans who I'm not going to say who it was, because they don't deserve any fucking publicity. But when Lamar came down with COVID and I think relatively relevant Steelers account tweeted like, "Oh, Yins, the fucking Madden curse," and tweeted like the Madden cover. I was like, that's a little distasteful. Like, he's probably going to be fine, but can we not do this?
It's whatever. But yeah, that's talking Lamar.
That stuck with me a little bit. I'm getting in my Twitter bag lately. So,
and I think this is a good point. Mr. T chimes in here in the comments. Race definitely plays a part in it, and it's also where he's from too.
The way that he talks, like no other quarterback talks like him,
and dresses like him. He dresses, toed out in Gucci, and loves to wear, some fucking lavish shit. He doesn't dress like Russell Wilson, and he doesn't dress like Patrick Mahomes doesn't dress. Patrick Mahomes will wear a standard kind of suit to an event.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes will wear like tech polos and khakis with his phone outside his belt, like to certain places.
And is an avid golfer.
Yeah, which fucking nerd. Give me a break.
So, Gregory Burr chimes in here. As a Montana fan, I've spent most of my life defending my quarterbacks against Steelers and Packers fans. My face-to-face experiences have no racial tendencies. Dummies that don't know about quarterback searching. Yeah,
I think it's like a situation where sometimes people don't even realize what they're saying. But like there are certain things where there is a tendency to it. Like I was saying with Bill.
There's also like the stat deniers.
There's also the efficiency deniers, people that will dry hump stats and talk about like passing yards. It's like, all right, guys, can we put our 2010 stats back in the drawer here?
Ramey chimes in, Patty Mahomes with the Pit Vipers.
That's a good shot.
Exactly. But that's talking Lamar, where he comes from, the way he is, what he wears, his I just don't even, it's just funny. I don't mean to shit on her, but it reminds me of like the Lindsay OK thing from a couple years ago where it's like, all right, yeah, he has a bad attitude. It's like, who the fuck, what are you watching? What is making you say he's a bad attitude? He's the best attitude. So people just click all these things in their head. Then there's the people there's the stat deniers. And then Mr. T chimes in, there's the pass yard merchants. Oh, he only has this many passing yards. And it's like, yeah, isn't it crazy that he led the NFL in touchdown passes without throwing the ball much? These
are the same people that try to say Joe Namath like wasn't a good quarterback.
Right, exactly.
Oh, he had more interceptions and touchdowns. Joe Namath is like a fucking he's one of the set the templates for quarterbacks, like Lamar Jackson.
Exactly.
You don't know what you're talking about if you're dry humping passing yards. Give me a break.
It's antiquated, but let's move on.
Stuart Shock, something that I wondered while listening to the Forgotten Dynasty series. Why was it that the Colts were able to keep the Baltimore Colts history, titles, etc., but the Ravens didn't keep the Browns history during their relocation? It comes down to the fact that franchises can do whatever they want with their stuff. So for whatever reason, Irsay just decided to keep it, all that stuff. And when Modell left Cleveland, I mean, there was a really significant backlash to it, kind of similar to the one that the Colts faced, but it got to the point where Tagliabue, who was the commissioner at the time of the Browns move, like got involved and said, like, Art, you're not fucking taking the Browns logo. And Art Modell said, okay, that's fine. I'll come up with my own thing. They left all the records and stuff there. As far as Irsay, he was who he was, and he wanted to keep the logo for whatever reason. So he did it. It doesn't make that much sense for the Colts.
Probably like a family thing.
No, because it's, like the Colts were named the Colts because of the Preakness. Like,
no. I'm saying like Irsay wanted to keep it because I don't feel like he had like a family feeling about it.
I don't know. I think he just had like an axe to grind. And like, if you listen to some of the
it could have been it also could have been a fuck you to Baltimore. We're taking it.
I think it was. And he had an axe to grind. And like, if you listen to fans like Loudy, who was like the original Baltimore super fan, there's like a video of him outside the facility the day after the move. And he said, we'll be here when the new Colts come. I was like, oh God, that's kind of sad. Like he thought that they were going to be able to keep the logo. And it's fine. I mean, like, obviously you love the Ravens, but it would have been cool to be able to kind of keep the logo the same way the Browns were. But yeah, it just boils down to the fact that if you're the owner of a franchise, which Irsay made the argument that it's my team, I can do what I want with it. He's certainly correct in that assumption. He could have handled it better, and he also could have left the logo, but he didn't. The horse racing stuff doesn't really make a ton of sense near Indianapolis, in my opinion.
No, it makes no sense. Everyone says
probably would have been better to like be the Hoosiers or something, but whatever. Yeah, and Art Modell, a true gentleman and a scholar, allowed Cleveland to keep their records in history. And, if you go back and do some of the research, Johnny Unitas, Tom Maddie, all those guys, they swore the Colts off. So it might as well And we have another question about this too, actually. So, we
get into that one. Get into that one.
So Evan, friend of the show, see if I can get up there. He says
it's also kind of like Art Modell was very pissed about the stadium situation, and that's why he moved. And the Browns were still a proud franchise, I guess, in ways, but they weren't exactly great when
they were. The Browns situation was like the Colts. Like it was clear they were going to move if you kind of read the tea leaves, and like they, like Irsay had some very logical gripes the same way Rosenblum did before him, but he just could have handled it better. So Evan says, this isn't a question, but I want to hear a rant about the Colts build a team graphic. Why such a negative reaction? So it's just like, for me, it's like, of course they can do that. And like, it boils down to like, and if you didn't see this, like the Indianapolis Colts Twitter account tweeted like one of those engagement hack, like graphic things, like choose your lineup, $5, $4, $3, $2, $1. Choose your lineup of players in franchise history with X amount of money. And they included like Johnny Unitas and like Burke Jones and, John Mackey, Tom Maddie. It's like, why are you doing that? Like, it's negative reaction for me because like I kind of just buried my head in this for the past 2 years. And like I associate all those guys with here, and those guys associated themselves with here. And like, yes, they're in the Hall of Fame to some extent as Indianapolis Colts, which they should not be, which Johnny Unitas said, if you're going to put me up in there, like do it as a Baltimore Colt or I'm not accepting it. They didn't listen to him, unfortunately. So that's kind of how it is. But he took all his stuff that he had and he gave it to the Babe Ruth Museum, I believe. So it's
Correct.
Interesting. It's kind of like there's it's kind of like a divorced parents type thing where like you don't really know where certain allegiances lay or where like certain connective threads lay. It's just it's a messy situation. So it would have been nice if we could have just had the Ravens come back as the Colts and Indianapolis just be another franchise, but it's just it's a messy thing. And it's like, I don't expect whatever social media manager for the Colts, the Indianapolis Colts, to really care about that, but it's just, don't do that. Like, just be a little more classy than that. I'm not going to go and create a Ravens one with, Jim Brown as one of the running.
One funny thing though, and it's a little different, is that like Ernest Biner is in the Ravens Ring of Honor, and he did play 2 seasons for the Ravens, I think. But that's a funny one. It was like, we're taking Ernest Biner with us.
and frankly, like that's something that I disagree with. Like, I don't think, and Ernest is a great guy. Actually, I've heard some good interviews with him. Like I don't think that he should be in the Ravens Ring of Honor. So like, to answer kind of that question, like just let's have each franchise have
that was like the smallest little thing that they could do, is like, we're taking Ernest Biner.
Yeah, it's like
you guys can have everything else, but we're taking Ernest Biner.
And it's like, you don't need Ernest Biner. Like, just let him be in Cleveland. It's all good. Like it's just, we don't have to do this. The Indianapolis Colts they're doing really well. In fact, they're doing great. They're doing much better than they did under Robert Irsay. Jim Irsay, as I said in the podcast, is a good owner. And if you have a problem with Jim Irsay, that feels like a you problem. I think he's a good guy.
He does everything he can for them. He's all in. He's kind of like a zany drunk Mark Cuban.
Yeah. And to his credit, he has a lot of the same issues that his dad did, but he's actually being proactive about getting help,
right,
for himself, getting mental health stigma charities and stuff like that, and donating money to them. So
he's more self-aware.
Yes, he's much more benevolent, self-aware. I think he's doing a nice job with them. So everyone kind of ended up winning in that whole situation, except for the Cleveland, of course.
That's why I just love that you did that entire series, just so we can have these kinds of discussions, and it's just, I enjoy it very much so.
I do too, man. It's good to keep this kind of discussion going, because it felt like there was maybe a stagnancy point with Baltimore Colts history. So it's good to bring it back to the forefront.
It was at rock bottom, and I think we're on the up and up.
Exactly. Kalen Hutchinson, of the deepest positions on the team, who is most likely to be traded? What do you think?
I believe that Cole Jackson, Two Guys Watching Football, asked a question that coincides quite well.
When specifically will Ben Powers be traded for a 6th, 4th pick swap? Thanks.
So I would say that Ben Powers, Anthony Averett, I don't think they want to trade Anthony Averett.
I don't think they want to trade any of their corners, honestly. Maybe
yes,
if they can get something for him, but
I don't think they would be able to get anything unless someone just really loved him in the draft for some reason. And what they would get is probably a 7th round conditional pick. But which is better than nothing if they're going to cut him. But Averett would be like you get a really good offer that solidifies something that you need otherwise. And that, everyone's going to obviously go, oh, edge rusher, maybe, sure. There could be something else that comes up. You're not happy somewhere else. Safety depth, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. But those are the two guys that I'm looking at. Ben Powers, who I think is, at this point in his career, I think he's a really good backup. I think he's a quality backup. A guy that you can plug in there. He's going to win some reps. He's going to lose some reps. Where I underestimated his shortcomings, I would say, is just in terms of stature and general athleticism, he's not quite hulking enough to really lay down the authority impose his will upon his opposition. So I think that he's a prime trade candidate. Ben Bredesen, apparently is working at center, and we'll see what's happening with that. But Powers has game experience. He's a guard. It feels like they have a log jam at guard now with the Bens and Tyree Phillips and whatever's going on with all that. So that would be an interesting situation. But sometimes, again, a lot of these problems that we put up in hypotheticals resolve themselves, unfortunately, due to injury. So,
absolutely. Bateman to the moon. Could this possibly be the best pass catching core in team history? I don't. 2010 was pretty fucking good.
2010 was really good. They were experienced too.
Yeah, this is I think there's a lot of potential with this group, but I would hate to go out there and because like really what we're talking about here, and I love Tylan Wallace, but like I'm not really banking on him doing a ton this year. Where you're really talking about Sammy Watkins and Rashad Bateman and Nick Boyle coming back.
So let's talk about it. We got Marquise Brown, who's probably going to play a lot of Z and a lot of the move slot stuff, the move H stuff, spread H. And we've got Sammy Watkins, who's going to play in the slot a little bit. He's going to play some X. Rashad Bateman, who, as I say this, I hope this isn't the case, but he's adept in the slot. He's adept out wide, can play all three positions. And it's a pretty good situation for Bateman with Sammy Watkins, a guy who has a ton of experience, has nuanced releases. He's going to have a notebook. This is something that I've mentioned before. Watkins has a notebook. He's a professional. He has a notebook on the NFL cornerbacks. He has the notes. He has the details. He has previous matchups, all that good stuff. And it might be written in some sort of like alien lizard language, but hopefully he can communicate it in English to Bateman. So it's a great mentor for him.
Sammy Watkins, like he's the living embodiment of RIP to your grandma, but I'm different.
Exactly. That's the best way to put it.
I work too hard. I care too much about my job. And sometimes I just get way too invested. That's why I
get injured. That's why I get hurt. I go too hard.
I got to get a Sammy Watkins. Somebody, if
he was not able to play football, like if he was just average athletically, like his interviews would be so fire.
I need to get a Sammy Watkins.
It'd be like, my biggest problem is that, I at my work performance peaks and then I stay at work too late and it makes me start not getting enough sleep and then my performance declines.
Trains me out. It's just part of being built different. Unfortunately, it's just a condition that I've got. I need a Sammy Watkins jersey before this.
That'd actually be sweet. But so, all right, we got Bateman running around. We got Duvernay, who did play about half of his snaps out wide last year. That slot log jam is real, but Duvernay can definitely play the Z. He can play the flanker, the off the line of scrimmage, who doesn't have to deal with press and can come in motion and take some carries and do some fly sweeps and some screens, all that good stuff. Then we're going to have Tylan Wallace, certainly on the team. And then beyond that, we've talked about this. We don't have to get into it. The training camp will resolve it, and whatever happens, happens. It's going to be Prochet. It's going to be Boykin. I think Prochet. Jake thinks Boykin. Then one of those two guys is what it feels like in all likelihood. And that feels like a very deep group. Deeper than did Steve Smith and Mike Wallace did not play together.
They did in 2016.
They did 1 year,
mm-hmm.
And Steve Smith got hurt.
No, he got hurt in 2015. That was the 5-11 year. Then he
came back.
He went into 2015 saying this is going to be my last year. He gets hurt, and then he
plays the year they lose to the Bengals.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Or no, so he didn't play. That was 2017. You're thinking of. So he got hurt in 2015. 2016 they go 8-8. And that was his last year.
Yep. And then it was Mike Wallace. God, Perriman and
It was him. It was Perryman. It was Mike Wallace.
In 2017? Who was 2017?
2016. It was him, Perryman, Mike Wallace, and Dennis Pitta had that really good year.
And then who was 2017? Who was this?
Was Perryman, Mike Wallace.
Crabtree? 2 years?
No.
Macklin.
Yeah, it was Macklin. They signed Macklin literally right before the season.
Okay, there we go. So there's that. Garnett chimes in. Steve Smith and Torrey Smith had 1,000 yards together in 2014.
Steve Smith had 1,000 yards. Torrey had 11 touchdowns and
yeah, he didn't have a ton of yards. Eight, whatever he had. But then you're going back, and then it's those Anquan Bolden.
I think 2010 is the answer because you got rookie Pitta and rookie Ed Dixon and Derek Mason and Anquan Bolden. I think Heap was gone by that point, I think.
Yeah, Heap was gone.
Yeah. So those two. I think Hoosh might have been the third receiver, maybe.
It was Hoosh.
Yeah.
They had Lee Evans at some point. That was 2011.
Evans, I don't know if they signed him in 2011 or if he was there, but they were gnarly in 20. The problem is it's literally impossible.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Derek Mason and Anquan Bolden.
Yeah. That was a good receiving core.
It was a good receiving core. So we'll go with maybe the second best since then. And then beyond that, we're getting all the way back into the Derek Alexander, Michael Jackson days.
Bori Potts. I just want y'all to touch on the Shannon Sharp situation. I think we already did that.
We did that.
Angie, not sure if this has been asked already, but what players are you most excited to see in the preseason games and why? I'm excited to see what happens with this quarterback situation.
That's an exciting one. The tight end situation. Dalen Hayes is one that certainly comes to mind. Sean Wade.
Josh Oliver is a big one for me.
Josh Oliver, Dalen Hayes, Sean Wade, obviously Ben Cleveland. You want to see out there cracking some fucking skulls and some basic run concepts.
See what they do with Brandon Stevens.
For sure. And, there's going to be some guys like Deion Kane getting some reps, Benjamin Victor, some funky stuff there. Nate McCrary, the running back that they signed as a UDFA. He's an interesting one. We'll also get to see Matt Waldman's boy, Tyson Williams, hopefully. So there's some interesting ones.
We got to get
Amon Marshall.
Yeah, we got to get Waldman on to do just a full Tyson Williams deep dive.
He has a 45-minute video on Tyson Williams.
I'm saying let's recreate it with him. He'll walk us through it. It'll be a video.
We haven't had him on in so long. He's probably geared down right now too. We should get him on. Okay. Talk about some things.
Get him on for the season.
Ben Mason, you want to see out there cracking some skulls. Garnett says Malik Harrison. Yeah, I mean, this preseason is going to be incredible.
There's only
so many young players, so many guys that didn't get that last year, didn't get those opportunities. Prochet. That might be my top answer. Actually, is Prochet.
Okay, yeah, I like that, and I feel like if their game is gonna translate to the preseason and showing if you've learned how to kind of beat one-on-one and get yourself open, James Prochet, good opportunity.
He might absolutely destroy the preseason.
It's exciting. He could be the next Jeremy Butler.
No, he got in the game. He's different levels here. We're talking mythological creatures versus humans.
Yeah, he has an NFL catch, so he's more Jeremy Butler, the fucking future Hall of Famer.
He has one.
Yeah, well, yes, he has one catch on. Listen, it was a great out route.
It was filthy. TJ, how's your mama? Yeah, Mr. T wants to see what's happening with Brandon Stevens. I mean, it's all exciting stuff. Malik Harrison going to be getting a ton of reps, you'd think. Maybe Christian Welch. So now we're getting down into the nitty gritty, but those are the buzzword boys of this preseason. And then, of course, as you said to start it off, McSorley, Huntley, it's feast or famine, baby. And Trace Unitas, you don't want to see him in the preseason. Miles Boykin, you don't want to see those two on a goddamn 9 route.
Trace Unitas, newly engaged too, so he's gonna have some.
He has himself a curly-headed maven.
He's gonna have some dad dick energy out there, slinging the rock around, and just absolutely beasting and feasting all over the preseason. Justin Harper,
there's a name.
There's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Is that something you might be interested in? Eric?
What if I told you? Okay, I'm not going to say that. Zeege Batman. The Ravens have some 19 odd FAs next year. We got to get Z's Batman to be like our official statistician because he's all over this kind of stuff. The Ravens have some.
He's our off-season correspondent.
He really is. I was in the house at Jimmy's the other night. And he was working it. And he did not come up to me. So that's going to have to be corrected next time I'm out there.
Wow, Zeej. Wow.
I hope you're listening. The Ravens have some 19 odd FAs next year, including Andrews, Bozeman, and Joker. Who do you want to come back and who actually does come back? I think Andrews priority for sure. But I think like if Bradley Bozeman gets off to a good start this year, let's get those talks rolling right away. Because like these early contracts have kind of bid EDC a little bit. Other ones, good investments. So
a little birdie that I would put a medium amount of stock into. I also forgot about Michael Schofield as another player the Ravens signed.
Yeah,
but a little birdie told me that Bradley Bozeman wants a lot more money than he should get.
Interesting.
He wants a lot of money, apparently, which is interesting. But this is the thing. It's when you scorn, as I've said before, if you scorn John Harbaugh, you scorn Eric DeCosta. And that is, in this case, centers snapping the ball and generally not being able to like reach block and combo well. If Bradley Bozeman is the answer, don't be surprised to see him get like a four-year, like $40 million deal at center, because center has scorned them for quite some time, John Harbaugh specifically. And they love, I mean, he's like the Mr. freaking wholesome. He's the Walter Payton Man of the Year guy. Like he's everything you can ask for and more. He is a community.
You want to talk about a Harbaugh guy. That's
exactly.
That guy's right out of the fucking Harbaugh playbook right there. Jack Harbaugh built Bradley Bozeman in a lab somewhere.
Exactly. He's got the RV. He's standing up to bullies. He's smiling. He's got all these little jokes. He's like a very, gigantic human with like a nice soft voice that is like a very sweet guy. Players all seem to love him. So
listen, friend of the podcast,
Bradley Bozeman. Then other than that, I mean, what else do we got? Calais Campbell. I think if he plays again, he's playing with the Ravens. LJ Fort probably gone after this year. And that brings us to Deshaun Elliott, man. And if he's healthy, you don't want him going anywhere. I think he is one of the most underrated safeties in football. And to be honest, and this probably makes me sound stupid, but I think both Chuck Clark and Deshaun Elliott in the national spotlight, two of the most under-heralded, consistently good safeties, albeit, it was just one season of Elliott being consistently good, but really curious to see the advancements that Don Martindale makes in terms of what he wants to do with single high with Deshaun Elliott and moving him around a little bit more and maybe rolling some coverages and giving some pre-snap, post-snap bluffing in terms of single high versus two high and shifting that from pre and post-snap reads. So I think when we see a little bit more drama, it felt like they were putting Elliott on the moon 15, 18, 20 sometimes yards back, all like a lot very early on. And then it slowly started to be a little less conservative. So I'm excited to see what they can do. They did not want to have the Earl Thomas situation bite them in the ass, so they stuck Deshaun Elliott on the moon and had him play pretty conservatively. He dropped a couple picks, which is like the worst thing he can do. When you think of, this is the question I keep asking, and I'm asking you this, Jake. Can you think of a game where you thought, damn, Chuck Clark is getting abused, or Deshaun Elliott? I can't think of one.
No, they didn't have any bad plays at the safety position, it feels like all year. Maybe they did at one point, but I don't recall it.
Chuck Clark will get he'll have a tight end moss him once every other week. And it's like, okay, well, it's going to happen when 6'5", the most athletic humans in the world are jumping over a 6 foot tall safety. It happens sometimes.
Which is fine.
Mandrews, I think, is done. I don't think that he's even. I'm not even going to call him a free agent. I think he might get franchise tagged. There's not a chance in hell he's playing somewhere else next year.
It's Lamar wanted him to. Cody Kavanaugh. Now that Jake is verified, does Spenny now pick up the coffee on the way into film?
Correct.
Okay, good.
I'll get the beers. I'll bring the beers. I'll bring the beers.
Get the beers.
I'm gonna go get the papers. Get the papers.
In all
Wow.
seriousness, how many safeties, including Brandon Stevens, do you guys see making the 53? Perfect tie-in. And who is the most likely to be the third safety in the dime when Clark moves to the box?
Garnett chiming in. The only mistake Chuck ever did is when he ran into the goalpost.
Absolute stray bullet at Chuck.
Was that the Bills game?
I think it was I think it was, because it was right before.
I'm not gonna lie. I stood up and was like, "What the are you doing?" He smacked the goalpost. I was like, "Where do you think you are?"
Was it the Browns game? Actually,
I can't recall. I know it was late in the year, and I think it was at night. It was Browns game. You already said
Browns. Yeah. Okay.
What the fuck? Where do you think you are, man?
It reminded me of Brendan Treywick running into Jacoby,
like hitting your freaking 9-iron on the green,
ending Jacoby Jones's career in a Ravens uniform. Brendan Treywick, yes. He just fucking.
That was unbelievable. Brandon Treywick, what a name.
Yeah, that's a good name. Third safety.
Brandon Stevens has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be. Fourth safety. I don't think they're cutting CoCap if they brought him back, but he also doesn't play safety. But they put him there, like on the roster. Feels like Jordan Richards is probably not going to make it. And then I would think Geno Stone and Ardarius Washington are fighting to the death to kind of be that third, fourth safety.
Somebody's got to make the Joker meme breaking.
And then there's also Nigel Warrior sneakily.
It's exciting.
It's exciting. So who makes it? I'm not ready for that yet. I'm not ready for trimming the fat yet.
Stay tuned.
We need Vaz on here to officially do those.
Breaking down the primo positions. Brandon Minnick, thinking Ben Mason could be used in heavy sets to close out games. Put him or Card Boyle as fullbacks with Gus. Gives us a big, beefy, short yardage, closer package.
So what I would actually like to see is the stack I, which shout out to Brunswick football out of, I believe, Washington County, Maryland, who used to run that. It is tight ends, and you go fullback, running back in an I with the quarterback under center. And I would like to see some of that.
Fullback.
It's a 3-man I. Stack I.
Pulling it up right now. Okay, let's see.
So I would love to see that. Ben Mason, yeah, they're going to get funky with Ben Mason.
Okay. So like this.
Yep.
Okay. I like that.
Bingo. Boyle, Ricard, Mason, Gus. Boyle is going to be your in-line, your Y.
The truth at Moody Steven. Why is it that everyone automatically assumes that just because Boykin is 6'4", 220, he can just move to tight end? I thought we were past this.
Well, he's on the same page as us. They are on the same page as us. I can't recall the name.
To be 100% transparent there, I was actually the first person in the entire world to float the Miles Boykin to tight end idea. And you told me probably not going to happen. So I moved off of it. But then after that, people arrived at it after I did. And I said, hey, guys.
You won't take your second day could be tweeting that a little birdie told you. Your second day verified on Twitter could be a little birdie told you they'd be trying Miles Boykin in some tight end formations and packages and training camp.
Listen, and then Miles Boykin is going to start arguing with me. And
Miles Boykin's be like, are you trying to get my mom to pay for my fucking Xbox Live again?
Are you trying to see me in fucking Verdansk right now? Because I will end you for talking about.
And, Harbaugh said some things like, he already does a lot of tight end type things, but it's like Darren Waller was making that transition for some years, and Darren Waller is also a certified DAWG, and right now Miles Boykin is a little bit of a house cat.
Just he's got some.
He's in the gray area between dog adjacent and house cat.
Miles Boykin and Tony Finau are riding the same wave. It's a little golf reference for you. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go
Tony Finau.
Look up Tony Finau. William Hung, shout out. You a big William Hung fan?
That's sick.
How exactly has our team improved over the Chiefs and Titans? All I see from fans is bias, obviously. I don't think any of those teams got worse. We still have major threats. Lamar needs to earn his money more than ever this year. Time's ticking for a ring with this team.
I don't think time is ticking necessarily. You've got franchise left tackle, franchise cornerback, franchise quarterback, and you've got, some youthful talent at some good positions. And, Mark Andrews feels like he's going to get locked up. Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, solid secondary. So I don't know about the clock is ticking necessarily, but they've gotten better. How have they gotten better than the Titans? Arthur Smith left, number one.
They were better than the Titans last year. I think they're better than them right now. The Titans offense is going to be good. I think it's going to be tough without Arthur Smith to totally gauge what they're going to look like, but their defense was bad. I don't think they got a lot better. I think they're better than the Titans. The Bills and the Chiefs are who you got to worry about, and the Brownies too, to an extent.
So the Titans, the wild card for them is Bud Dupree. And I'm of the belief that Bud Dupree played on a top 2 defensive front over the last couple of years between Pittsburgh and Washington. And, you've got Stephon Tuitt, who's getting double teamed a quarter of the time. You've got Cam Hayward, who's getting double teamed a quarter of the time. You've got TJ Watt on the other side, who's only playing over the right tackle. And so you're pretty worried about TJ Watt. And then you got Bud Dupree, who is explosive as hell coming off the blind side. He is also coming back off of an injury, but him and Harold Landry, if Bud Dupree can come back and do 80% of what he was doing last year, that's a good duo. They've also got Jeffrey Simmons in there. But again, Julio Jones, huge addition. I just don't know that Arthur Smith was so underrated in the red zone. His red zone diversity and gimmicks and traps and toys were incredible. They are incredible. And I think that's why you're going to see the Falcons skyrocket in red zone efficiency, especially with a quarterback like Matt Ryan that's super smart. So I think that's the step back. Julio and A.J. Brown, it feels like so much is relying on those guys to stay healthy. A.J. Brown coming off a knee surgery. I'm not going to go ahead and say Julio's injury prone or over the hill or anything. He did miss some games last year, but they're not deep. And I think the Ravens are a lot deeper. The Chiefs, they didn't get better than the Chiefs. Chiefs are fucking better than them.
You a big William Hung fan?
Why does everybody ask me that? Who the hell is that?
He's got the well-hung license plate. Kelly Patrick McCoy. Hollywood had 71 targets in 19 and 100 targets in 20. Number one wide receivers typically get between 135 and 160 per season, so 8.5 to 10 per game. Do you see him getting closer to that rate this year? I think him getting 8 targets per game would be a nice sweet spot for this offense and his skills. No, I don't. I think he's probably might even get less targets this year.
I think he gets between 95 and 100 and let me try and close it out a little bit more. I'll go 97 and 107 targets is going to be my estimation. I am working on some statistical projections as well. I'm getting a little bit of help from a one Mike Clay who does that very well. So I think he's going to get right around the exact kind of same and maybe a little bit more. Maybe it depends. You're talking simply in terms of volume, the fact that the Ravens throw the ball less. So if you're looking at if you're looking at the Bills, Stephon Diggs getting almost 100, I think 159 targets. Bills probably threw the ball 200 more times than the Ravens. So different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I would say I'm expecting somewhere between 90 and 100 for him. I just think Watkins and Bateman, you're getting some target share coming in there. Nick Boyle's coming back. He's going to take some. I think it's going to be better for the offense and maybe even better for Hollywood if he's less of a focus, volumetrically. So,
person I'm excited for is Mark Andrews. I think he's going to have some fucking monster games if Rashad Bateman, Sammy Watkins, and now even to an extent Hollywood are able to kind of be more scary and command more attention, so that, like Jesse Bates said, it's not just 89 and 15. And like Marlon Humphrey said, they've got more than 2 or 3 guys that give the Ravens defense trouble in practice. So Mark Andrews getting some one-on-ones again. Oh boy.
Okay. That is all we had for Twitter. Do you want to run the IG?
Let's duet. Without further ado, Ryan J. Lowry. Which one of y'all would do the best at the National Spelling Bee? I think Jake might have the slight edge on me.
Yeah, my mom was an English teacher. I'm actually pretty good with writing and the construction of the English language, so I would probably say me. But you're good on you're good in the spotlight. I am good on the. I'm good under pressure. I'm good in the spotlight. But I've gotten lazy over the years with autocorrect and some things. Like there's some words that I just don't even try to spell correctly that are like
like words that have an EI or something, and I just like blah, 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 blah. So I think Jake. That the girl who won, my God, she is my favorite person on earth.
Yes.
Her basketball videos are what the hell? She's like juggling basketball on Bosu ball.
Sick.
She's out of this world talented human. Big fan of hers. Joe Bogan, Ninja JC, more trade value for wide receiver depth or IOL depth? Batch was epic. He's talking Bachelorette. Has been pretty epic lately. I've been watching.
I watched episode 1 and I fell off. I keep doing that.
It started shitty and it got really good recently. And I usually, like I said, I usually watch like 2 or 3 episodes, don't watch, and then I watch like the last 4.
Yeah, I don't watch it and I listen to a recap pod of it. So I can probably maybe hang tight, but yeah. Well, you know what he might be talking about? He's been asking about Baltimore bachelor party recommendations.
Oh, so he had an epic bachelor party.
I think so. I gave him some recs actually on the double episode that we did too.
There we go.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that now. I black out sometimes when we're doing these.
Yeah, evidently.
Yes. So congrats on the epic bachelor party. Adam Jones 357. Got my training camp pass. What would it take for number 12 to fully take over the wide receiver 1 role ASAP? I feel like Lamar, like one of the biggest similarities I can think of between Lamar and Flacco is like they're big trust guys. Well, the fucking gods, I'm still big trust, but they're keen on trusting receivers to be in the right spot. And that's why I think Lamar can be hesitant to throw to Boykin and some of the other receivers. So I think that he just has to establish trust very, 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 very early from Lamar. And that's what it would take. I don't think he'll ever take over Andrews. Like mentally, I think Lamar will always want Andrews to go pick up first downs, and he'll be looking to him in the red zone because they are out of this world in terms of big trust.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's going to be really good right out of the gate. I think the definition of wide receiver 1, especially in an offense like this, is kind of abstract. So, I think he's just going to be really good, and he's going to show some traits of what a wide receiver 1 could and should look like. So that's exciting in and of itself.
Absolutely. I believe I'm supposed to go on Cole's show and talk and do a film breakdown live with Cole on Rashad Bateman. So tune into Two Guys Talking Football.
I wanted to make the recommendation that you join him for the offensive scheme breakdown because he said he was looking for a guest. And I said, I got a little film guru in my my corner over here.
Gooey little guru.
If you need one, Mr. Jackson. I'm sorry, Mr. Jackson. Ooh, I am for real.
K-Brick 2.
Need to make it.
FMK in their prime. Jessica Alba, Kate Beckinsale, Lindsay Lohan. I might kill Jessica Alba and Lindsay Lohan because I love me some Kate Beckinsale. I love her. I would go Mary would be Kate Beckinsale because that means I get her for a longer period of time than once. Jessica Alba, probably going to kill her. Lindsay Lohan used to do it for me as well.
Yeah, I would probably kill Lohan. She just gives me anxiety. I think I would.
Did you ever see that like horror movie she did?
Which one?
Oh my God. It's going to trouble me. Continue your response and I'm going to look it up.
I would
Alba Beckinsale Lohan.
I find Alba both more attractive and more compelling than Beckinsale. So I would F Beckinsale and I would marry Alba just to have her in my corner at all times. I love Jessica Alba.
I Know Who Killed Me was the name of the movie as a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It sounds like a one that I should really.
Its PFF grade was Patrick Queen.
What you're not understanding about this movie is it's actually really good, and I'm just going to take a contrarian opinion on it for reasons that aren't clear. And it's actually not going to be in my top 50 of movies, even though it clearly should be.
Correct.
Steve, you got to eat your baseball uniform. What's going on?
Engraven, still going strong. We're still here, baby. We're still here.
We're here.
The boys were out for a while.
We're getting back into the back.
This is our longest, maybe our longest hiatus. No, Patrick Queen has not unblocked me, but I have the Baltimore Beatdown password. So when I see a tweet of his floating around, and I'll go sniff it out on that side.
I might throw him a follow and see if I can loop him into following me back with that blue check, and then maybe we can call a meeting of the 5 families. We can call a sit down between you two, see if we can negotiate something.
If not, we're going to the mattresses, baby.
He goes on to podcasts. Actually,
he's a big media guy. He's on Good Morning Football a lot. And,
he goes on to shout out to the name of the I think it's Purple Rain. I think it's called. Alex and Sutton, I believe, are the 2 hosts, and they're kind of in our camp as far as like.
Let's see if we can get him on here, and then I'll lay it down on him at the end. Like, hey, can you unblock me now?
He was good on that.
Or
podcast.
I'll play him in Madden, and he has to unblock me if I win.
I don't know if you want to gamble on that. I feel like he's playing a lot of Madden these days.
I don't need to play that much. Let's wait till the new one comes out. Get him on. I'll train. This is the 2 longest breaks I've ever taken in my life. Longest I've gone without playing Xbox. It's been. I got really pissed at COD and stopped playing because the hacking was so bad, and Madden was actually really bad. So I only played Madden last year like 15 or 20 times. And I also have not played basketball, like live human basketball, since before the pandemic. The longest I've ever gone in my life.
As a noted frustrated Madden consumer, I will say the gameplay plays a lot smoother on the Xbox Series X.
That's what I figured.
I'll
probably cop one.
The console upgrade. It's probably going to be time when Madden comes out.
I'm like, see, the thing is, I end up playing games on my phone a lot, and I'm like questioning whether, like, I'm like, all right, I'll buy the Series X or the Series S, and then I have to play it if I buy it. But I'm trying to be like, do you want to spend time doing that? Do you want to spend time doing that? But I end up playing games on my phone anyway. I've been trying to, like, I don't know. I'm not one of those guys like, I'm too old to play video games. I love video games, but that's a current mental warfare that goes on about once a week. Just wanted to let you guys get some insight. Ryan J. Laurie, if they gave you guys the naming rights to the stadium, would you keep it as M&T Bank or change it? And then he followed up, when can we expect the Baltimore Beatdown Brewing Company? We could get a lager. We can get an ale.
You can. I mean, I've shout out to a podcast that I listen to. I've touched base with one of their guys who said that they've actually had beers made of their podcast by another brewery. So we can maybe get in touch with Union or someone. Anyone listening that is affiliated with Union, Guinness, probably not going to happen. They might be a little too big for us. Anybody affiliated with Manor Hill, a favorite of mine. Anybody? I'd even throw Dog.
If we could get like a what is it called? Like a Union Duck Pin-esque can.
Yeah, that would be sick. Or
is it Duck Pin? Is that their one beer, like the old-fashioned looking can?
Yeah, they do that. They do the Steady Eddie with Eddie Murray on it. So we could do something like that where it's a cartoon version of you and I on there.
That would be all right. We're making some things happen. Would we change the name of M&T Bank Stadium? I mean, hypothetically, yeah, but they pay for that.
They pay a lot of money for that. You
yes,
make a shitload of money off that. So I think we discussed doing the Johnny Unitas thing, but that's already Towson's stadium name, so I guess you can't really do that.
Key Brewing as well.
Key Brewing, I would do. Listen, I'm open to any and all companies.
Suggestions.
If you want to make a beer and put my name on it, I don't care if it tastes like Natty Daddy. I will pretend it's the fucking best beer I've ever had.
I used to annihilate Natty Daddies because when I was poor. When I was poor in college,
I would literally scrape quarters together, go to Rofo and buy 2 Natty Daddies, and that would be my night.
Yep.
Man, what a good time it was.
I would get a pint and a Natty Daddy, and I would go to the bar. Had a whole system. Those were the, you feel like they're the worst times, they're the best times, brother.
Yep. They taste like gravel. Literally.
They taste like iron ore. Tastes like the pennies that you're talking about. It tastes like drinking copper. B-Rose 931, our depressed boy. Which of the unproven young tight ends on the roster has potential to be a seam stretcher? We've talked about that, B-Rose. You're placating us. You know it's Josh Oliver. He also asked, does Aaron Crawford have potential to become Brandon Williams' successor? Does he have potential to maybe start next year? We shall see. It seems like they like him a lot. I have not watched enough tape on him to make that anointment, but they seem to like him, and somebody's going to have to do it eventually before Vaz has a fucking conniption again for the 1,000th time.
He doesn't have a conniption to it. What he does is he like pretends that he's like all resigned to it and above it. He's actually like, he's the meme with like the happy face one, but it's actually angry underneath. He's simmering over it. and God forbid they have a game where Brendan Williams starts and they run all over them, he is gonna fucking that's when it's gonna the dog is gonna.
It's the 7 stages of grief, and Vaz is at like
he pretends he's on acceptance, but he's still well within anger. Like,
yeah, exactly. He pretends he's at acceptance and hope, and he's deep into the 3rd step.
He's
of
like
anger and bargaining. See,
like,
bargaining though, because you can catch him bargaining. You can catch him bargaining, and that's how you know that there's anger.
I'm so above it. Like, I don't even care anymore. Like, it just is what it is. Like, yeah, okay. Like, especially like the person who's like really over a situation loves talking about how it is what it is. Like, that's definitely God, I fucking love us, man.
Yeah, he's the best. He'll be on here next. We got to get him on next week. I'm sure he'll hear this.
He's coming off vacation. I think he will be off vacation after.
So we'll probably have him on for the Friday episode of next week. I would think that'll be our like Vaz training camp preview episode, because I think that was the first episode we had was like a training camp preview.
Yeah, that was like probably late July, I want to say.
Yeah, I remember.
That would make sense.
Exactly. Boss Hoss 00. Chances of signing Lamar, Andrews, and Hollywood, or too much money for all 3. Hollywood might be a tough cookie, because he thinks, he holds himself in very high regards, and I feel like if he's not getting like a very, very towards the top of the market contract, he's gonna be, sassy about it.
I think Hollywood Brown's days in Baltimore are numbered.
I think a franchise tag would definitely be in play, because Andrews, so it'll be 5th-year option. I think he gets the 5th-year option, and then maybe we see that expensive tag for 1 year.
I could see it. I don't know. I think they're going to prioritize Andrews. I think obviously you got to pay Lamar. I think they're going to want to pay Bozeman, to your point, and if he's asking for that amount of money, and like that's especially if he plays really well this year, like you're kind of pricing yourself out a little bit. And like they drafted Bateman, they drafted Tylan Wallace, Sammy Watkins, and his built differentness is like 29 years old. So
if Bateman is the hit that we all think he's going to be, then like DaCosta might be like BD swinging, feeling himself about drafting receivers and be like, all right, walk.
And also like Devin Duvernay is just there.
That's true. And Duvernay, not the true jitterbug like Hollywood, but has the speed. So do I think any of those guys will be as good as Hollywood? No, but it's, as always, just a matter of money. And
I love Hollywood.
I know. I think Hollywood. That I think higher of Hollywood than most people do. It's just the hands and the uncertainty at times is like, I don't want to pay you top 10 receiver money unless he absolutely blows the doors off, lets that go. It's just like this is stupid, but like the football is so big to him. I don't know. I'm just watching these dumb off-season workout videos and like fucking it looks gigantic to him. And it's like, I don't know. He has to fight it. Yeah. But what has he done in the playoffs? Spencer Garnett chimes in. He is primetime Jet in the playoffs. So, there you go. Every time.
Yeah, that's kind of my
even in that Bills game. I mean, he's making filthy, and that's true. He always, when it matters, he always performs at his best. So that's why I'm stupid.
The Titans game where literally no receiver shows up except for him. The Titans lost in 2019.
That step forward of him maybe being confident and able to kind of have some shakes and some juice in the open field, that is the next level that makes him kind of payable too.
Shout out to Bart Scott. He's a PT player, a primetime player.
A PTPer, baby. So, chances of signing all 3 of them, I'll give you 40%. Jake, I feel like is much lower than that.
Yeah, and I like him as a player. I just feel like they're going to prioritize other stuff.
We shall see. The real Jason Wilson. Can you predict a wild card for 2021 player or other factor that no one is talking about? This is what my article is going to be about. It's the spoiler. I'm doing a clickbaity type title, so you guys get the inside scoop. It's about Tyus Bowser. I think he is the key player in whether this team is a true Super Bowl contender or maybe not. If he can be a stud that makes plays consistently against the run, that makes plays consistently against the pass, whether it's with pressure or in coverage. And if he can play at like a Pro Bowl level, and which I think he's capable of, and that's why it was so interesting. I didn't quite get into it, but all these different personalities, that we're used to, he has been so quiet. He's been here for 4 years now. This is fifth year. And, how much do people know about Ty Spouser? Not a lot. He just seems like a really nice, chill, big smile, grinning ear to ear, responsible kind of guy from what we, see from the outside. And I think he's the make or break player.
I'm going to go with Ronnie Stanley. No one's
that.
talking about that ankle. And, they need him to come back and be ready to roll like right away. And there's a chance that he's not. And there's a chance with that injury that it might linger on into the season. I think they need Ronnie Stanley to be 100%. See a lot of booty chatter about my beard here. You know what, guys? It is extremely sad. And it's sad that you would take to this platform to hatchet me down like this, because you know what? I tried to get a little cute. I whipped out the comb last night and I got my clippers. It was really long. It was really unruly. It is the middle of July. It is the dog days of summer. Shout out to Al Pacino. I went to town a little bit, and you know what? I got a little too overzealous, and sometimes
happens every time.
Sometimes
there's that moment in your beard trimming where you're like, should I keep going? And the answer is always no, if you want to keep the beard.
Yep. And nope. And I didn't. And this motherfucker had to give up the ghost. And that's where we're at. And this is my feeling on it. It's a joke. But it's fine. We're going to be fine.
No, man.
I've got another 6 weeks until football. As long as I have a healthy, kind of light, Hollywood douchebag thing going on by kickoff, which I assuredly will, we're fine. We're fine right now. We look great. We're not worried. We're on to Cincinnati.
Yeah. DePools. Would you punch Bob Irsay? What a dick. Great job on the Forgotten Dynasty.
Thank you. No, I would not punch him. I kind of came away from it more feeling bad for him and about him. He's a guy who had a lot of issues. He was a guy who had a really strained family life, as I got into in the series. And he's a guy who, there's sort of the cliche about people that were born kind of before the understanding of mental health and alcoholism and all that kind of stuff. It's more of a tragic story than anything else. Having said that, he's still obviously you have your anger for what he did and the way that he handled it. It was all very bad, but he was just a guy who he just didn't, and it's not to make an excuse for him, but he was just a guy who was his own worst enemy more than he was anyone else's.
Acceptance and hope. That's the seventh stage of grieving, and sounds like you don't want to punch him. I think that's, maybe we should do some Dr. Phil segments on this show at some point. I think we should start having the 7 stages of grief pertaining to issues that upset us.
Okay. Hey, listen, that's probably going to be a good thing for week 2.
Yes. Which ties into the next one.
Is claiming acceptance early a form of self-defense mechanism? Shout out to Voss.
Exactly.
That's getting a little deep on you there.
A little existential, a little influential, a little verification from the verified Jake Luke. That's LOU.
You're only getting this kind of insight from verified Twitter accounts with less than 1,500 followers.
Coach Davis 4. Can we do a pod meetup at the first home game? We need to do a tailgate.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold me accountable. Everyone on this show, hold me accountable. I'm going to the Chiefs game. I'm going to get a fucking tailgating pass. I usually go to my friend's spot, but we can either go to the place under the bridge is having tailgates now, and we can do that, have a meetup there. I can't recall the name of it. I have their information. Or I can get a spot. I can do it. I think G-Lot is probably the place to be to do something like that on the backside.
Can we do another week? Going to be flying back from Chicago that day.
Oh my God. And you're going to have to get off the plane at what time?
It's a morning flight, and I guess you skip it forward an hour, so probably 3 p.m.
It's at night. It's a night game.
Listen, maybe this is a shout out to self-defense mechanisms. Maybe this is me trying not to go to the Chiefs game.
Well, you're coming. Too bad. I'm
literally
We've got Dave and Johnson. Oh yeah, week 2 noted and Engraven Vids. He's shocked to hear what he's hearing. Is Jake copping? So I'm hearing Jake gets verified. He shaves his beard and he won't go to the Chiefs game.
The day after the week 1 Monday night game, Tuesday, I fly out that night to Chicago. I got a work thing for 2 days. Staying there all weekend with some members of the fam. Fly back that Sunday. So
that's perfect. You can just get off the plane. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm going to be in a really just fine and relaxed state, just ready to fucking walk into.
Take off of work the next day. You have plenty of notice.
Having to watch that game.
Take off from work. You have plenty of notice.
Can I say something?
Say it.
I wanted to save this as like some kind of joke, but like I'm not. It's not even ironic. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to win that game 48-0.
I have already had like discussions inside my own perspective in my own thought process to myself about you're not going to pick the Ravens to win that game. You're not going to pick the Ravens to win that game. You're going to bet on the Chiefs and you're going to like it. You're going to put your own money on the Kansas City Chiefs so you can't get hurt again. So that when Orlando Brown is fucking doing easy money in the end zone on prime, Jake is distraught right now.
It's just,
when Orlando Brown's in the camera,
I can already
easy money.
I can
easy
already
money.
fucking see it.
I couldn't play left tackle.
I'm a left tackle. Yeah, I can already see it in my mind. And he's going to be picking up Clyde Edwards-Helaire and tossing him like he's a fucking bowling pin. And they're just going to be having enough time.
Popcorn popping in the microwave.
Time of their lives. They're going to be up 28-0. There's going to be some sort of infighting on the sideline on the Ravens side of things. It's just going to be awful. It's going to be awful. And the takes are going to go flying. I'm going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to deal with it. It's not going to be fun. I'm going to be unlimited.
If I have to witness that in person for the 4th straight year, or I guess for the first time, but the 4th straight year, I might like lose my PSL. I might like, actually, no, I don't have one strike yet. You get one strike and then you lose it.
Wait, do you already have a strike?
No, I do not. I'm saying I'm going to use my strike. If I have to witness Orlando Brown doing easy money, I will cash in my strike. Put me on probation.
PA clearly says don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk. I'm not going to be a jerk. I'm just going to be incorrigible. So way worse. Real Oats and Hose. Which NFL head coach would make the best star of a sitcom and why? You know which actually my favorite podcast right now is Flying Coach, Peter Schrager, Sean McVay. I gotta go with McVay.
Yeah, all right, guys. It's welcome to our sitcom that we got going on here. It's my Sean McVay.
And I'll tell you what, Peter, we got a serious situation going on. We got Jared Goff, Robert Woods, 55 yards apart. How do you get the ball there? I'm in the fucking Super Bowl. What do you think I traded for Matthew Stafford, man?
What am I?
That turned into Gruden a little bit.
How am I going to get myself? He sounds like Gruden.
Yeah, he's the Gruden coaching tree. So
he is, yeah. How am I going to get myself out of this?
I'm in the Super Bowl. I'm watching Jared Goff throw a fucking ball 10 yards behind a wide open receiver in the end zone. What the fuck are we doing here? How many first-round picks did we trade for this guy?
Yeah, now Matthew Stafford, and I'm the meme of the Superman character that's putting his hand on the portrait for Matthew Stafford. Now he's here, and we're going to see what happens.
See, Garnett chimes in Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan is like the if you watch the show Weeds, he is the uncle on Weeds. I can
guarantee that anybody in the world will be alive Sunday.
Perfect. Kyle Shanahan's like the cool uncle on the show that comes in and gives a couple fresh quips and, is real cool to the kids. Then he's on his way out, but he's got his own emotional problems that you find out about in season 2.
Kyle Shanahan looks like Kendall Roy, which is an issue.
Yeah, oh my God.
It's a tough scene.
Mega tough scene for your boy Kyle Shanahan.
Kind of sounds like him too.
I shout out to Succession coming on soon. He does kind of sound like him.
No, fuck off. We're going to be running a play action there. Shiv, what the fuck?
Shiv, come on. You're going to have Dad's back on this one? You're going to have Mike Shanahan's back on this one?
No, I don't want to call Dad on this one. Dad, what the fuck? Fuck off.
Oh, and in due course, towards the end of the mailbag, we have completely devolved. Harder Swami, will Ravens lead I'm guessing he's trying to ask what categories will the Ravens defense lead the NFL in? I'm going to go EPA per play allowed on passing downs. Suck it.
That actually works for me too, because I was going to do something related to passing and
Fumbles forced.
yeah,
Round 2.
DVOA.
Actually, I don't think they led last year. I think they were second, but
DVOA against the pass in the red zone.
Grits Fritz 410801. Have you installed a Tushy bidet on your toilets yet? Your buttholes will thank you.
I've heard good things.
I actually, for a Secret Santa, 3 of my buddies live together in Manhattan, and I sent them one, and it didn't fit. We did Secret Santa, and I sent it. It didn't fit on their toilet, so I tried.
I've heard good things. That's just
Try to keep my boys' holes clean.
Yeah, I just think that's like a bridge that I'm not willing to cross quite yet.
Bidets are outstanding. Highly recommend.
Well,
Toilet
listen,
paper is the grossest thing on earth. Toilet paper is disgusting. It's a horrible concept.
You're right, and the ads that explain that on the bidet ads on podcasts, they make perfect sense. But it's just
Wet wipes are the way to go.
That's a sensitive subject.
He also asked even if Watkins has a stellar year, do you see him playing a second season with the Ravens? I think if he plays a stellar year, he would still be really cheap. There's no pause, Garnet. It's like I'm making a joke, so you can't say pause. Like it's not like I said something by accident. Wait, pause. It's on purpose. I peeped into the camera when I said I like to keep my boys' holes clean. Got to keep it clean. Got to keep it clean. Engraven Vids. Got to keep it clean.
That's his
moniker.
Yeah,
that's our boy.
So
speaking of that's your boy. Glassy Fresh caps us off for this well over an hour long mailbag. I've had a blast. I know you have too. What sitcom pairing would you compare yourselves to?
So I saw this one. I was do you ever watch, were you a Psych guy at all?
I watched maybe 2 seasons of it in like a day and loved it and then stopped watching it because I have a bad problem where I binge shows and then stop paying attention and then lose interest.
I do the same thing sometimes, but I feel like you would be, I forget the guy who plays the main character, the guy who is the psychic allegedly. I feel like you would be that guy because you kind of see everything differently. You've got your angle.
And his last name is Spencer, Sean Spencer.
Sean Spencer. Okay, yeah. So that would be you. You're a little spicy, and then you're a little snarky. I feel like then I would be the.
Then you're Gus.
Yeah, I would be the Gus, the Dule Hill character. He's a little aloof. He's a little kind of spicy curmudgeon energy, but his heart's in the right place, and just a dynamite pairing.
Dynamite pairing. We'll go with Psych. Yeah. Engraven Vids. Thank you. Trailer Park Boys. No, that's me. That's us at the tailgates, baby.
Yeah.
There's also we need a Bubbles. Well, shit, Ricky. I got 12 guineas over here.
What the fuck is this all about, Ricky? Had a couple drinks, saw a couple things. Yep. Gonna go play Mario Kart with the fam now. Y'all be easy. You too, my man. You should get Mario Golf, Engraven. Pretty good.
There you go.
Mario Golf Super Rush.
But that does it for the mailbag. That was our last mailbag before we have some pads thumping, some fresh cut grass sniffing, the white lines laid down. And that sounded out of turn, out of pocket, the way that I said it. But it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll be having some fun stuff going on. Going to try and get a gentleman on here to do a little Chiefs preview. We did the Ted Nguyen interview. Jake, obviously. Everybody give him his flowers on Forgotten Dynasty. It was outstanding. It is an incredible series. Like I said, love the fact that it was reaching an all-time low. Shout out to the band out of Delaney Valley High School. Shout out to them. Shout out to Jake, bringing the interest back into the historical aspects of Baltimore football. Hope you guys enjoy. If you haven't gotten a chance to finish listening, absolutely go through that and do that. I'm sure some people still have it saved for their vacations, as it is that wonderful evergreen content. Appreciate everyone for listening to that. Appreciate Jake for that beautiful content. So great job, Jakey. He is a future Emmy nominated, Twitter verified, clean shaven Maven covering the Ravens now. So make sure you finish up on that.
What a world. I'm going to have to add all that to my resume. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to that. For all the people that have been asking about kind of a follow-up of some kind, answer is yes. Don't know exactly when that's going to be in the pipeline, but ideas have been kicked around. And I'm really excited to kind of dive into exploring that type of content because it was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but a lot of fun. Thank you for listening, everyone, to tonight's podcast, whether it was the live version or whether you're tuning into the RSS feed. It's very appreciated. It's going to be fun getting back into the live content. I'm not totally sure what our plan is yet for doing so, but we definitely, at the very least, I think are going to be doing live recap shows for games. So I'm going to say probably preseason games, recap after games 1 and 2. And then after we get into the regular season, recap after every game. So excited to jump back and do some of the live stuff. It was fun to chat with some of you guys, or all of you guys. Thank you for throwing your little nuggets in there. It's always fun. So that's much appreciated. Go ahead and follow us on social media if you're not already. Main account is at Be More Beatdown. Podcast account is at Podcast Beatdown, where you can find all the promo stuff for the show. You can find me at Jake Luke. That is Louque. And that's got a blue check mark next to it actually now. Spenny is at
I don't know if you guys noticed.
I don't know if you noticed, but it does. Spenny is at Raven.
Kind of a big deal.
A little bit. I'm not really sure how to say this, but I'm kind of a big deal. People know me. Spenny's at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4 in the middle. And follow us on Instagram too. We actually tweet mailbags out there as well. That is Baltimore_Beatdown. So thank you guys for tuning in. We will talk to you again early next week with whatever it is that we come back to you with. Football is coming back in short order here. It's time to get excited.
It's a small stack of pancakes. We'll see you guys on the other side. See ya.
Arrivederci.